Look, I understand that when you are a jungler wanting to carry, it's all great and good when you see perfect jungling on a video on YouTube. But in real life, you're just gonna have inters and trolls and people just suck. So what happens and how do you carry when all lanes not only lose, they lose heinously? Like you're in your tier 3 mid lane turret and the scoreboard looks like this. Let's start off and show exactly what you need to do in order to jungle like this. Now you can see we are against a Talon. We're gonna focus on the Kayn here. They're gonna do their clears. But please realize, any champion that you want to play can navigate an all lanes losing situation if you are better than your MMR. That means you should be climbing, so go at it from that perspective. I'm going to learn whatever I can to carry bad players and inting players with my champion in order to climb. And if you can't, sometimes you will just lose games, my friend, but sometimes your mid laner is going to die by themselves and your bottom lane is going to die to a cheesy gank. Talon is disgusting, Talon is unhealthy, and there's nothing you can do about a Talon doing this, a Shaker doing this, a Jarvan doing this. You have to accept it and embrace it. So we finish our first full clear, we do the Scuttle Crab. And here's the first lesson. When you have losing lanes, always the first step is to recognize that losing lane means pushing lanes, which means they are gankable lanes. Track the enemy jungler, understand where that guy's gonna be. He's gonna be topside. Look at the pushing mid, go in and kill. Now you might think, okay, well I can do my camps, right? The Raptors and Krugs again. Yes, but maybe top lane is also gankable even though Talon is going to be in the area. Use this pressure to translate one gank to another. Boom! You are a little bit fed as you watch this play out, and your teammates have at least a bit of, time to relax and not die. Inting lane means that they're gonna keep dying even though you gave these ganks. So how do we keep this pressure up when laners get stronger and stronger and yours get weaker and weaker? And to master pathing like this, you absolutely must head to the updated courses on Virkayu.gg. Not only do I have a free jungle improvement resource, I also have a dedicated program with jungle video courses, jungle coaching, coaching classes, a jungle VOD library. We already have a lot of community VOD reviews and coaching classes for Season 15, sharing all the tips and tricks to reach new peaks in this season. All the fundamentals you need for right now are available in a ridiculous amount of hours for content tailored for your MMR so you can climb to reach your peak rank as fast as possible. So to hit your peak rank in Season 15 and jungle div every game you play, head to the link in the description below or to Virkayu.gg. Well, there's not much you can do when Talon is going to sequence down and then, kill the bottom lane again. But here's where things get interesting because this is where most fail. They would, maybe fall back to their camps, do that top scuttle and go back to base and, the mid laner dies, it's a support roaming. No, watch what the Kayn does. He moves into that mid lane. He tries to see what damage he can do. Obviously not much, he hasn't bought yet. He stayed out for an extended sequence and now it's getting risky as everyone gets more fed. So what you can do here is just stop the plates falling down as much as possible and hold those waves. If you give it multiple plates, if you simply never show and just watch your team slowly lose, you're not going to be able to carry them. You need to stash gold and hoard it like a Viking who wants to use it in the afterlife. Now I know for millennials and Gen Z, we don't really understand what savings are because, come on, but regardless, in the game you can have savings, so live your dream this way. And this is where I sort of diverge a little bit with what we're going to see. Just watch the Kayn here. He's going to do the walls. He's going to F-keep bottom lane and see a low health ADC for potential shutdowns and kills. And you're going to watch him go ahead and do what you expect him to do. Here, the rule really is, hey, control your camps at all costs. Try not to be counter-jungled. Track the enemy jungler. We're doing this with the Talon. We know where he's going to be because he did that red side camp, ganked bottom lane, reset, one top side, choke bottom side again. We really understand exactly where he's going to be right now on the grubs. So you can, in theory, just counter jungle. You, in theory, can dive bot lane and die to the Ezreal. You, in theory, could just finish off your camps and ensure no counter jungling. But this is where your power lies, and a lot of people are not focusing on the right things in these videos, always think about the enemy jungler. Look, he's gonna get his, he's gonna get fed, he's not really that needed. He just needs to snowball a few win cons. Watch what the Kayn does. Goes to the red. Yes, protect the camps is the most important thing, but the Talon isn't gonna go into your jungle right now. He knows that you have a lot of gold you just about spend. He knows you're trying to get form as soon as possible. If you're Hecarim, if you're Lilia, you don't have the form thing in your kit, but you still have the ability to make all of these same plays. And even as a Karthus, classically chill and do exactly the stuff. You can leave your camps to gank in losing situations. It's very important that you do that. The King does this, takes the red, ganks the top lane. He's able to then do his top sequence again. His bottom side will be up, but as long as you've got those timers and you're not too worried about an invade here, because typically Talon level junglers like this, they should be counter jungling, getting in your face and letting their lanes continue to win. They should be tracking and counter ganking you, but that's not always going to happen in 99.9% of MMRs, and as you can see even in a challenger game, it's not going to happen here always either. And that means, my friends, I love a good circular loop path. That basically means exactly what you see here. We come out of base, you do some stuff, and then you loop back and you do it again. And that means a second gank here on top side, as you can see. This is a great way to get yourself fed because that's all you're doing. This is not about helping laners in need. It's not about stopping their whinging. It's about deafen all and play your game. Now, all of that being said, here we need to make a read and react play, something we spoke a lot about in the previous video. Yes, you could just simply do the dragon outside interval, right? I'm gonna go snack that up if I can. But if you see killable pressure somewhere else, in this particular case, ensuring that your inting laner is not left alone on an island is the best play. Now, we're gonna do something a little bit diabolical, but you just watch. We're gonna go ahead and kill the mid lane, we're gonna move around, we're gonna survive a little bit, we're gonna extract ourselves from the situation. Now would be a good time to perhaps just give up the grubs, maybe give up the dragon, just pick which one you wanna give up, sequence in that direction, and snack the other one, right? That allows you a bit of breathing space. You're trading 1 for 1 in terms of objectives. That's huge when you're losing, but the Kayn decides to stick around a little bit, fight with his team a bit more. That's fine too, but to a different end goal. Here it's just about making sure you keep getting fed, you get the shutdowns, but don't do what he does here, which is fall back into his jungle to clear camps and then contest the grubs. In this situation, I'm saying, okay, look, I ganked mid lane here for a kill. I've gotten more kills and more assists, but I really don't want to die over these grubs. It's not worth losing the game here. It's better to sequence down, and if I can snack that dragon up for free, and then counter jungle as you see on this animated map with this drawn map, and what you could also do instead is sequence all your camps into the dragon, should time permit. You can sequence all your camps and just kill the Ezreal, and create some sort of pressure release on the bottom side here where you're shoving into that tier 2, you kill the ADC, hopefully that tier 1 is dead, but of course you can take that, that's huge as well. You have options by just giving up the grubs. Jumping back, you see the Kayn died, they get the free grubs now, and you're gonna see the repercussions of this decision. Literally, it's going to be about 4 minutes of total sadness, because now they've all done their business, they've done the grubs, they're gonna reset, and obviously the Talon's gonna wanna control his bottom side respawns, he's gonna wanna get in the face for that next objective, that dragon. They're gonna wanna start to push the game out to win and close. They're winning the game. You are now matched with them, and that's where things get difficult here in this mid game, because you don't want to be matched with them. You want to be making picks isolated, you want to be making split push pressure, forcing rotations, you want to take objectives away from them. But as you can see from the Kayn here, he's forced into almost teamfight skirmishes, and you don't want to be doing that because your teams suck. They're inting. And that's why the aggressive maneuvers in this game both times I think are okay in certain scenarios, but I do prefer a more measured approach to this. I've made many videos on this topic that have changed with the metas, but in this season, in the modern jungling, it's just better to sacrifice that one objective to get another and to play away from them for a while, because you see what the Kayn does now, which is good. You know, he does what he can, they give it all up, he just falls back to his camps. He looks to go mid lane here, nothing. He full sequences his top side, he controls his camps as I mentioned. And now you can look for a pick, all right? Are people positioned elsewhere? Mid lane, bot lane? Is everybody rotating over for the Herald? Has it been taken? Obviously, next patch it'll be at 15, so that could be a reality here where Kayn can actually go ahead and do that, or they could rotate forward. In this game, it's at 16, so you can go ahead and make that live switch in your head, but you can see here from the Kayn, he dies again. Unnecessary deaths. The first one I'm okay with because form, orbs, kill, shutdown. Second one I'm not okay with because we could have just done a whole bunch of other stuff to win the game. And this one I'm okay with because we got to try do something, but it's largely more impossible because we died the second time. But what this does mean now is the way the map is going to set up is you can use their split push, their aggression, and their desire to get objectives to close against them. Yes, that means giving up the Herald, who cares? Make their pick, get the shutdown if they have it, push waves out, send someone just to go split push and enter who cares, a Corki. And once more, always think about umbrella jungling. Here's an old map for it, it still works today, and I'm just gonna use the old map because it's legacy, it's cute, I like it. It just means pathing in a way to avoid deep vision from winning lanes, to avoid counter jungling, to be undetected, and to show up for the things we're talking about right now. And this is the maneuver, the step that you have to understand most when you have losing lanes that most people don't. A lot of people in Kayn's position will be worried about mid lane. Who cares about mid lane? You need to create a numbers advantage for yourself, not really your team, just for yourself, where you are the most powerful person, you have a 2v1, a 3v2, it doesn't matter. And if that's killing the split pusher again, you do it. After that, the best play that you can make from these positions and why I tell you to go to side lanes in these scenarios is it allows you to flank from behind. And I'm going to hear a lot of people saying, well, you know, Kayn can flank from behind. If we start listing every jungler that cannot flank from behind, there would be less than those that could. Talons, Viegos, Hekrims, even a Nunu could do this. Warwick, Echo can do this, any assassin, Rengar, Kha'Zix, Nocturne. I could just walk over with Zyron flank. Any jungler in the game can make this play, and that's what we're looking to do. We are the most fed member. If you did everything correct, you should be. They are now overcommitting because you showed top lane, but instead of basing and dealing with a bad angle of approach, you just flanked because you're strong. You kill them all. And if there's a dragon reward, you take it. And all of a sudden, your team are thinking, wait a second, we can win. Although looking at some of the KDAs, I don't think they're all thinking about winning. I think a lot of them are thinking about how they once more need to blame others for being bad at something. But nevertheless, in this particular case, as Kayn, the game develops differently. Yes, you could decide to rage split push and force pressure that way, but most likely your team gets aced because of the horrific composition that they have and their, lack of neuron flow. But you can stay with them in this situation. I think it's a better play as a team fighting pick-based champion, and if you're this fed, you're the X factor at the end of the day. You are Planet 9. You are the black hole. Just be smart about your team fighting. This is where I see a lot of people in coaching be this fed, do everything right, and then they think, all right, go in, absolute cinema, and then they die. Use your in and out all the time, my friends. Get in the fight, leave the fight, wait for your cooldowns, go back in, wait for them to be distracted by the corpse of your teammates, then go in while they're distracted and have wasted spells. That's how you gotta think. But you can see how Kayn is doing this. I used to cover and do this with Kha'Zix a lot, like half a decade ago. He still does this as well. It's really about your positioning and your target focus. If you can get in, kill, and pull out again, even if your teammates are not playing very well, it's still a numbers advantage. It's still an extra body they have to kill and be distracted by. And that's what we're counting on. The extra thing we can add is when you have these wins in these moments, in 20 minutes or so, do look to get the counter jungling in, because if they're all dead and maybe you don't necessarily always need an objective or have an objective, simply pushing the waves up and taking their camps stalls their snowball, stalls their advantages a little bit. Here, obviously, we can counter jungle, kill them, and do add to can and have done the dragon before. So this is very much a good win-win-win scenario, but sometimes if there's no objectives, those are the other things you can do. What we don't want to do is stay out too long and try and repeat the process without a gold spend. Remember, they have the advantage. They have the gold spend now after dying. You will die. Yes, you can get the turret, but what if your team dies? What if Baron's available? What if Elder's available? Question mark for all those things. Just, think a little bit. Don't be too aggressive. However, obviously the next dragon's gonna be up, so respawn, get your ass back in the field. Don't worry too much about sequencing. Take what you can. Get deep in their jungle there with vision. And now prepare to flank, prepare to make a pick, because everything you've been doing the whole game has built up to this. Firstly, with the scanning and good pressure, you wait for the misposition, you make the pick. Now you guys have a 5v4. The winning team think, well, everybody's like 1-7-1, they're inting, it's only the Kayn. We need to keep playing the game. We kind of just sit on turret and do nothing. So yeah, you've got the dragon from this, but they're gonna try and pressure out the map a little bit because they're still overconfident. They still think, hey, we're winning. So they push up, not realizing that 5 is in fact greater than 4. That allows you to once more position well, flank well, and make another pick. Now they don't realize that, hey, 4 is actually greater than 3. So you see where I'm going with this. Always use their aggression and misposition and pushing to just pick them off with the flank. To kill them, to take your camps in the meantime, and then push waves out. There's been nothing sexy about this, although it is fun to watch. They simply push a little bit up to try and force the close. You're well positioned because you understand pressure release, and you just go ahead and punish their mistakes, and that's something I have spoken about for many years because everybody knows it. But it's more about allowing them to tilt into you. The Kayn has been forceful. He has made some aggressive mistakes, but by and large, he's waited for them to position because they don't know what else to do. We gotta push up, guys. We gotta get the Nexus. That's when you pounce. If they're gonna make mistakes and let them defeat you through it, that's just the art of war 101. And in the end here, as they start the Baron, you would have noticed the guy just basically did a loop. Pick, dragon, kill, loop around his jungle, push the waves out, make another pick, flank, and then into the Baron. Really, a simple life for a strong jungler who gets fed. Now this is also because a lot of people think, oh, Kayn's weak. My friends, if Kayn can do this in high elo with 3 losing lanes that had the KDAs that they had, he can do it in any MMR. But most importantly, many junglers can do this. The ability to do this is simply on you to actually understand where you're going to get golden experience or economy while your team are dying. You notice how I didn't really talk about them at all? I just spoke about you, what you can do to the enemy laners, how you can track the enemy jungler, what you should do to control your own camps and so on. We didn't speak about our laners because they're not worth speaking about. You don't think about them because they are nothing. Don't be the random marketing guy in the elevator. Be Donald Draper. When Talon says in old chat, I feel sorry for you, your laners suck. You say, I don't think about you at all. You run them down, you steamroll their base, you take their nexus, you spit in his cornflakes, and then you go and watch the ultimate early game jungling guide to make sure that you can also win in every other scenario you might face.